Hello, welcome back. We are live in Las Vegas at our 2024 BNI National Conference. Again, I'm on the hot seat, have a fantastic guest, a very good friend, colleague for many, many years, Jamie Stein. Jamie Stein is the BNI, so your title has evolved, and what regions are you in?
So I am currently the regional director for BNI New Hampshire, where I live, BNI Central Florida, and BNI Northeast Florida. So Orlando and Jacksonville. I've been a part of BNI since 2006. But
It's a long time.
Full-time with BNI since 2016. We had a vision in our region to create a dedicated launch program. So from 2016 to the end of 2022, I was our director of market development, overseeing the launch process in all three of our regions. And to date, we have now launched 71 chapters since 2016.
So we're talking to the right guy.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to give a little bit of props to your executive director, Tim Roberts, because
Yes.
Tim Roberts actually has a podcast as well.
The Power of One podcast.
The Power of One. If you want to hear some really good stuff, look up Tim Roberts and The Power of One. Absolutely fantastic podcast. But let's get back to you, Jamie.
Yes.
What are we talking about today?
So Tim is actually a very good friend and a mentor, and someone I've had the amazing opportunity to work with all these years. And now I lead the day-to-day operations in his three regions. But today I wanted to kind of share with you, I had a life-altering event a few weeks ago. Many of you may remember it was Monday, April 8th.
I remember that day.
Was the eclipse. Yep. And all over the country. I think it was the first time that over 98% of the United States was in view of the eclipse. And I live in southern New Hampshire. So where we were, it was about 95% totality.
Wow.
Now, typically during our time of the year, we don't have San Diego weather. We have,
Yes.
we have not the best weather. In fact, a few days earlier, it snowed.
Oh.
And so the likelihood of a sunny day was not typically in the cards. And I have two boys, they're 10 and 13. And my older son, Josh, has been into space and talking about the eclipse since we first heard about it like 6 or 8 years ago, which is half of his lifetime ago. He's looking forward to it. But here's the confession. I was that guy. Both of my boys were begging me for weeks. Can we take Monday off? Can we stay out of school? Can you take us up north to see the eclipse? I had every excuse. I had a series of meetings that day.
Wait a minute. This is not just walking out your door.
No, this is
and looking up.
You
actually had to go do something.
Right. They wanted me to take them about 150 miles north into the mountains and into the path of totality so they could really experience it.
Okay.
And so I was basically saying I had every excuse in the book. I had meetings lined up that day. In fact, one of them was with my good friend, Tim Roberts, and I told him I'm going to take all my meetings on the road. And he told me, it gets dark every night.
Yeah.
So we had a good laugh. And as we went up, they wore me down. I finally said, we're going to go. We started driving north and I said, we'll go as far until we hit traffic and then we'll stop.
Okay.
I figured 95% was good enough, right? And so we packed a picnic. We got on the highway. We started driving north. It was about 10:30 in the morning. We got into the path of totality. And as we're driving, my son is playing all these YouTube videos about how amazing the eclipse is. But I am like the skeptic going, yeah. It's going to get dark for a few minutes. This is not changing my life, right? So we found a beautiful spot on a lake. I said, if nothing else, having a day to hang out with my two boys, sitting by the side of a beautiful lake in northern Vermont, doesn't get any better than this. And so as the eclipse started and I'm looking up at the glasses, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool, but whatever. And then it wasn't until about 10 minutes before totality when everything started to get dark. The temperature dropped.
Oh, wow.
And then, you can hear the animals and the birds and everything around us. And I think I noticed in that moment, everything changed. And I looked up and I saw what didn't even look real in the sky. It was a black disc surrounded by just a glowing light. And until I experienced it, I would have never believed it. Now, we did sit in 6 hours worth of traffic on the way home. And every excuse that I had came true. But you know what? It didn't matter. And now I look back on it thinking, how could have I not gone? How could have I missed this? And I realized that happens in business all the time. All the time, right? When I think about, for those of us who are BNI members, one of the biggest challenges that we have is inviting. And we tend to invite by telling them everything that BNI is, right? And so everyone comes up with all these excuses. It's too far. I'm too busy. You want me to go every single Tuesday morning for the rest of my life? And if I don't come more than 3 times, we're not friends anymore, right? And those are all the things that happens. But until someone actually gets to your BNI chapter and experiences it, they will never know. And that's exactly the case.
It really is about the experience. It's experiential, right? Like you like you said, and you even talked about how on the drive with your son and he's looking up, some on YouTube, some of the, and you're like, yeah.
It's going to be great. Yeah, whatever.
But until you're there, until you look up and you see this amazing thing that only happens how many times?
Next time is 20 years from now.
Right.
In 2044 in North Dakota, which I don't plan to be in North Dakota. My apologies to those that live there. I will not be there. However, the following year it'll be in Central Florida, but
who knows?
Who knows, right? It could be rainy that day.
And in business, who knows where we're going to be in a couple of years? Who knows where we're going to be in a couple of months?
Yeah.
So those moments of making all the excuses, because let's face it, we all hear it, and probably many of us made those excuses when we were invited to go to a BNI meeting or something like that. And until you go and experience it, you don't really understand what they're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. When we invite, many of us, we forget that they have to experience it. They have to be there to know what the chapter is. Just like you can't sell a haircut over the phone. Yeah. Trust me, I tried. It doesn't work. You can't sell a BNI chapter over the phone. They have to meet your referral partners. The process is only part of it, right? The meeting, yes, we follow an agenda and we follow a system, and that system has generated more results than any other system of its kind in the world. Nearly 40 years and over $350 billion worth of results. But it's also about the people in the room.
That's it.
And the relationships of the people in the room. And even someone who has been to another BNI chapter doesn't understand.
Well, right? Because every one of they're not exactly alike, right?
Exactly.
We utilize the same agenda, but every chapter is unique because there's different individuals in those chapters.
Absolutely. And so, I think about it. A lot of times I hear members prejudge, right? Oh, I don't want to invite that person. They're too busy, or they don't need BNI. I'm like, well, that's crazy. Everyone needs a network of people around them and needs really good people. And, in my life, I have never met the person that was offended they were invited somewhere. I've met a lot of people that were offended when they weren't invited somewhere, but I never met the person that was offended when they were. So I coach members all the time that when you invite, you want to invite with purpose, right? In fact, don't invite. Strategically recruit, right? You want to strategically recruit the people that are going to be those best referral partners for you. And then remember, there's Maya Angelou is the person who I believe said it first. She said, I've learned that people often forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. The invitation doesn't matter the words you use, right? What matters is the connection that you make with the person you're inviting. And so when you're thinking about that perfect referral partner, and you know the one I'm talking about, the one with all the connections that's going to open doors for you and change your business, right? What you want to do is you want to invite them in a way that makes them feel welcome, feel a part of something, because that's what's truly going to change your network.
Absolutely. And the element of inviting, I know that when I first came into BNI 19 years ago, as a matter of fact, I was sharing this story earlier today because one of the individuals that at my very first meeting that I met was downstairs today, and I got to chat with her about things, and we were talking about that they had an initial invite, and I went and I loved it. I ended up joining a chapter. It was a fantastic chapter. And then it was my turn to start inviting, and I would do what you said earlier. I would throw up on people. Yeah. Because I wanted them to come in. I wanted them to experience what I have experienced and the success that I'm having so much that I was throwing up on people. And it wasn't until probably 8-9 months later when nobody was coming with me, that a friend of mine in the chapter said what you said about strategically inviting them, or invite them into the room to meet somebody else in the room.
That's a great way to do it.
Right. And then things started changing. It wasn't about me sharing all this stuff and trying to get all these words out. It was about making an introduction to one of my referral partners, because I've had so much success in BNI.
And that's all it is. We want to share our referral team. I'll tell you, I hear people when they make that mistake. I always ask people, how would you invite a friend to lunch? Would you say, hey, Ed, I haven't seen you in a while. I'd love to catch up. Or would you say, you know what? We're going to go to a restaurant downstairs, and we're going to go there on Tuesday. And we're going to go there every Tuesday for the rest of our lives. And if you don't show up more than 3 Tuesdays in a row, you and I are not friends anymore, right? You would never say that. So instead, the invitation should be simple. It should be, Ed, what's going on? How's your business? How are things going? Ask a conversation. Remember, during this part, a lot of times we want to throw out everything that BNI is, but I've learned that when you're building a relationship, which is really what the invitation is the first part of that relationship, what you want to do is, it's much better to be interested than interesting, right?
Well
you
said.
want to much rather be interested in the other person. You're talking about their favorite topic, which is their business. And then almost like it comes to you in a moment, say, hey, Ed, I have a group of people that have been instrumental in helping me grow my business. I bet they could help you as well. Would you want to meet them?
Oh my gosh, of course I would.
Of course. Guess what? We're getting together on Tuesday morning. What are you doing Tuesday morning?
Going with you.
Exactly.
That's
the entire invitation. Keep it simple. And don't shy away from inviting. I know when you look at the power of one, and that's a big topic, there are 5 categories. But when I look over a power of one, most members struggle with the visitors because they feel uncomfortable. They feel like they have to sell BNI. My son really tried to sell me that eclipse. And you know what? It didn't work.
And the more you try to sell, the more you're like, whoa, okay, I don't want to do this. And
absolutely.
Like with your son, even like you said, he was trying to sell it to you, and you're like, yeah.
And I was like, no. And then it was when I experienced it. I can tell you, and I'm sure you've had the same experience in San Diego as we've had in New Hampshire and in central and northeast Florida, how many times we have, I've met someone who is telling me that had they known this was a BNI meeting, they would have never come.
I can't even tell you.
While they're filling out the application. I've had people literally hand me a check and say, if you would have told me this is BNI, I wouldn't have been here. I'm like, okay, I have members of my own director team that are the most passionate about BNI, that have the same experience. And so building your network is not a chore. It's not a metric on a power of one. It is the single most influential thing you can do to move your business forward. And so what I really want to encourage our listeners to do is take time out of your day. I know we're all busy. We all have a huge amount of things going on. But from time to time, I want you to be strategic. I want you to think about your favorite clients, the ones you love working with. And then I want you to ask yourself a few very simple questions. First thing I always love to ask about my favorite clients are, how do they find me? They're bouncing through life. They need someone who does what I do. How did that happen? But then we want to go a little bit deeper. The second question I love to ask is not only how did they find me, but what was going on in their world when they realized they needed me? So was there some sort of life event?
Yep.
Many of our fellow members, their businesses, what triggers a good referral for them is some sort of a life event. It might be a change in their family. Maybe someone's getting married. Maybe someone's expecting.
Which typically happens every 6 months to 9 months, right?
Exactly. Something's happening. Maybe they're starting a business. Maybe they're expanding a business. Maybe they're moving. Maybe they heard that San Diego has amazing weather, and no one's ever done that before. It rained when I was in San Diego, but they heard that there's amazing weather and they moved, right? There's a life event.
Yeah.
Whatever that life event, think about what life event causes someone to need you. And this is where you get to the next question, the third question, the most important question. And that is who, by the nature of their profession, knows that life event is happening.
Ooh.
So my advice for all of our members, if those professions are in your chapter, guess what? That's the next person you should be doing a one-to-one with.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not in the chapter, well, you have room to grow. And it's your business, right? These are your referrals that are going to make your business better. Invite them.
Well,
Invite them. And I'm telling you, take personal responsibility for building out your network, a few hours worth of work, schedule it like an appointment. It will be well worth your while. And I can tell you all about the referrals, but trust me, when you start to see your business, when you experience that,
yep.
if there's one thing I learned, I said to my son, before that eclipse, I said, it's going to be 95% in our own backyard. That's good enough. No, there was a huge difference between 95% and 100%.
Absolutely.
And building your network, building your chapter, if you don't have all of the referral partners you need, if you're at 70, 80, 90% of the referral partners you need, you're not getting the true value of BNI.
Well, and that could be a whole nother topic of discussion. We need to have you back on.
I would love to be back on.
Terrific. Well, thank you again for joining us, Jamie. For our listeners, we look forward to having you back with us next week. I'm really excited because we're here at our BNI National Conference. And as you can tell, we've had several weeks of amazing guests. We have a lot more to come to be able to share some bits of wisdom from many, many years of business owners, of entrepreneurs, and doing all these wonderful things the right way. So thank you for joining us again, Jamie.
And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for spending some time with us.
Absolutely.
And for all of you, we look forward to seeing you back next week.
This episode of the BNI San Diego Podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.